Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mountain Harmony Gardening. I'm Kristen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to harvest herbs during fall and how to preserve them for the winter. It is now the time of the year, fall, and you can see all of our leaves mixed in with our herbs and all over the grass behind me. And it is time for me to start thinking about what do I need to preserve so that I have some herbs through winter. The first one that we're going to start with is the sage right here. And when you're saving the sage, you want to make sure that you don't get down too far into this woody stem. You want to take the top. These leaves that are younger or have more flavor to them. So you want to go ahead and just start cutting off all of these tops. The next herb that we want to talk about is the lavender, and it's right next to the sage. And it is pretty much the same principle on this one. You want to go down and find the soft tops on these, and that is what you want to harvest on lavender, is just these tops like this. This is the new pineapple sage that I planted in spring. Now I'm going to let this plant go because it's still pretty small, but you harvest it exactly the same way as you harvest other sage plants. We're going to move on to the oregano over here, and you can see that this pretty much took over this whole area. I started out with just a small plant over here, and these ones are different. You can go ahead and cut all the way back into the woody part of their stems, because when you harvest these, and you start to dry them, you'll be pulling all the leaves off. So you can cut this plant back really hard during the fall. The next herb in my herb bed here is I have some lemon thyme. I really wish you could smell this. It's wonderful. And it's the same way as the oregano. You want to cut it back pretty hard, and it's okay if you get the stems. And then with this one, you will just be drying it more whole. This is a parsley plant that I planted just this spring, and look how big it has gotten. It looks beautiful. And with parsley, because they are not on a woody stem, you want to take this all the way back to the ground as far as you can go and harvest these. And you want to harvest as much of this as possible because this will grow back every single year since it's a perennial, and you will get a nice harvest. These are our chamomile flowers all over growing in here. I'm not going to harvest these today because Sebastian comes out here and gets these for Patsy, and they're actually Patsy dinner. But what you want to do when you're harvesting chamomile is you want to get the flowers that have just opened up and still look really good before all the petals start to drop, and you just harvest off the heads and you dry them, and you can make a wonderful tea out of them. The next herb that I'm going to harvest is chives. And with chives, they come back every year, so you can just pretty much just cut them off like this and get a nice big bunch, and they will come back in the spring. The next plant that I'm going to be talking about is our dill plant. And this is right here. And I actually use the dill for the seeds, and I do not harvest the leaves. I do that in the springtime. So right now I'm letting them go to seed, but I will be harvesting the seeds. The last plant that I want to talk about today is basil. And because it's an annual, it will not survive the winter. So you actually want to go ahead and take this all the way down to the bottom. I almost forgot that I have mint growing in the garden too, because root weevils actually didn't eat it this year, so I have something to harvest. And with the mint, you can cut it back pretty hard because it is kind of invasive. It'll grow back, don't worry about that. So just go ahead and cut off whatever you like and then dry it, and it makes a wonderful tea. Now that I've harvested some of our herbs, I'm going to go ahead and take you guys into the house and show you how I preserve these for the winter. I have all my herbs laid out here. Make sure that when you bring them in that you rinse them off really well, because usually I find little bugs like earwigs or little tiny spiders in them. So you want to make sure that they're rinsed really well. They don't have to be completely dry because in this process you are going to be dehydrating them or drying them out or putting them into a bundle. So next, I'm going to do a close-up view to show you how I take care of each one of these to preserve them. There are a couple different methods that I use to dry my herbs. One is a dehydrator, one is just on a paper plate, and the other one is tied up in a bundle. And the herbs that I tie up in a bundle are usually something like lavender. And the reason I do the lavender is because it's a little bit more woody, kind of like rosemary as well. And all you do is just get some yarn or some string. I have a lot of yarn because I crochet. And then you just tie it up. Pretty simple. I tie a little bow because this way the bows is what I'm going to hang it by. And then you have a little bundle just like this that you can hang up. Works really good. Next is in the dehydrator. And you want to make sure that you have your dehydrator set on low. This one doesn't have a temperature gauge, it's just an on and off, but I check it really often because herbs are very delicate and they actually dry pretty fast. And you don't want to get them too dry because then they really lose their potency. So for something like basil, all you do is you start taking off the leaves and just kind of pinch them off the stem, and then you spread them out, and you want to go ahead and make sure that it's a full tray. And I will be harvesting more later on and actually doing a full tray. I just wanted to give you guys a quick little sampling of what I'm doing later on. So for anything that has a larger leaf, this is a really good method. You can also do that with mint because mint is so much of a larger leaf that it's really good for that. And also with the parsley, this is a nice large leaf, but all you have to do is break it off. You can keep part of the stem, and then you can go ahead and just lay it out on the dehydrator like this. Just break off the large leaves and lay those out too. The other method that I actually like to use a lot, especially if I'm only just doing a little bit, if I am doing like a big batch, I will use the dehydrator, but this is the method that I really like. So you just take a couple of paper towels, lay them on a paper plate. This works really good for the oregano. And to save the oregano, you want to take the stem, you want to grab it, and you just want to strip the leaves and kind of spread them out because you don't want them in a big clump because they won't dry well. And you kind of go this way too. And you can do the flowers as well, perfectly fine. And you just want to make sure that you get your paper towel all nice and covered. But you don't want it too thick because then they won't dry out well. And once you've gotten this all kind of covered up, then you can do another layer. And how I do another layer is I just take another couple paper towels, put them on top, kind of smash them down. That way if there's any water left over, you can get the water out, and then you can go ahead and layer on top. Now I'm going to go get a pair of scissors, and I'll be right back, and I'll show you how I take care of the chives. For the chives is a really easy method, but first you want to go through your chives and make sure that you pick out any of the ones that have died back already. So any of the kind of like stick looking bits. And you want to grab a little bunch like this. And you want to make them as even as you can at the bottom to start out with. Because what I do to do the chives is I simply start cutting them into small pieces, just like this. It's really, really simple. And then I just move down until I'm completely done and I fill this up. And then you can add another layer right on top. Those are the 3 different methods that I use to dry herbs. If you're using a dehydrator, make sure it's set on low or check it often. If you're using the plate method, you probably want to check it every couple of days until it's dry. And each herb, if you're doing different ones on the layers, will dry at different times. So keep checking those often. Or you can do the bundle method and hang it up and then use it whenever it's dry. Also, the tips I want you to take away when I was harvesting is that if it has a woody stem, like our sage here, just take the soft tops. If it has a soft stem, like this parsley here, you want to go all the way down. Plus the parsley is a perennial and it will come back. But if it's something like the basil, where it's an annual where you live, you want to go ahead and take the whole entire plant. I hope these methods have inspired you to go ahead and save your herbs so that you have something wonderful that you grew out of your garden for the winter time. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Happy gardening, everyone.